Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another video from the Canal Sidings Model Railway channel. And for anybody who doesn't know who I am, I'm John. It's been a long time, about 3 months since my last video. That's partly to do with the fact that I have been backwards and forwards to hospital having all sorts of tests and procedures, one of which sort of set me back about a week and a half, but I'm fine now, and nothing sinister has been found at all, so hopefully it'll just be the odd trip back to hospital for a quick scan here and there just to make sure that nothing else has happened, but no treatment required, no ongoing treatment, nothing to do with COVID, by the way, and also nothing to do with the big C, with the other big C. Anyway, I haven't been able to do a video for ages because I've been, the last video I showed was laying some track and points on the new section of the layout. But before we go over there and have a look at the progress that I have made, we'll just have a look over here, because this is something that was not on the agenda but was very good for after I'd finished the hospital visit that knocked me back for a while, and it just allowed me to sit down and do something quietly. This is actually a kit. It's a download and print kit from Scale Model Scenery, and it's their bus depot. Heavily modified, I have to say, because it should actually have 2 sets of those windows between the entrance and exit, but that was far too big for my site, so I decided to make it a slightly smaller building and made it 1 set of windows. The other thing that the Scale Model Scenery building doesn't do is have see-through windows. So what I've done is very time consuming. I created the windows as see-through versions, and you can actually see into the building, especially if I put the lights on, which are not wired up permanently, so I can't really get to them. But the shape of the building is very odd because it's stuck in the corner, and anybody who recognises the layout might realise that this is a bit of the old layout that is being remodelled. It used to just be a scenic break in this corner, and if I just zoom you out without shaking the camera too much, there you can see, for people who've seen it before, that is where we are. We're on the corner where that bit of track there where the 08 is standing is the end of my programming track, and that switch panel down there allows me to get to the programming track, switch it on and off, and the switch just there, I think I've got the right place here, just there, that switch is the one that you flick to go from programming track to part of the complete layout. I'm not going to go into any more of that, and the other thing is, if you go this way you come to the bridges, which again we won't look at too much because they're really a mess underneath. So that was one project that I did. Took me about a fortnight to do that, of modelling time, but it was coming and going modelling time. I didn't have much energy at the time, so I'd had a general anaesthetic to have a biopsy. This is the reason. General anaesthetics knocked me out for about 3 weeks. So in the last couple of weeks of that, I just sat down quietly at my table and did a bit of cardboard modelling. Anyway, that's one thing that I've done. Now we'll just swing the camera around and we'll have a look at the progress that I was making and have made more of since the last video. So back in a sec. Okay, we're now back looking at the other side of the layout, and we're looking at the section that I was working on in the last video. It was this section along here where all the points that give access to the sidings down here and to the Loco storage area down there, the Loco stabling point, I should say. And also along that one and up to that corner there, you get the entrance to the main line, but you also get the head shunt that allows these sidings that are down here to be shunted. And last video I was laying the or inserting the base for that point by cutting out the cork, and the last thing you saw in the video was I was laying the cork back down, having glued it, or I was about to lay it back down and glue it down, which I have done now. Now these 2 points are also fixed, these two here. This one here still isn't, because there's nothing coming off of it yet. This allows you access to a sort of head shunt that allows you to go into the kickback sidings where the Locos will be stored, and also further on in the same direction there will be a refueling point, and I've got an indication of where that'll be. So what I'll do is I'll just zoom out a bit so we can swing the camera around. I'll tip it down a bit, creaky, horrible tripod. There we go. So this is the throat now where the 4 sidings are, which are the engineer's yard, and just here is where the siding that is ultimately going to the refueling point, and this is an approximate position for where the refueling point will be. This is actually, sorry, not the camera, that is actually a Nightwing refueling point, which I bought some time ago and never could find a use for, a place for, because it was always too big. This time I thought about it and made sure that it wasn't going to be too big a space required. Also I've been laying, sorry about the creaking camera, I've also been laying all these sidings, and they go, so I just had a bit of trouble with the wire there. I'll just move it back out of the way. It does annoy me when manufacturers give you such short lengths of wire with their pieces of equipment. A 1 metre length of charging cable to the camera is just too short. It needs to be a lot longer. But there you go. Anyway, I've been experimenting with different types of ballasting on the tracks. Again, for people who know my videos, I like to lay the track and ballast it at the same time, or get the majority of the ballast down at the same time. I don't mind later on having to add a bit more, but having to go forever without any ballast under the track until I'm ready to spend hours and hours doing it is not for me. So I ballasted this as I did it. And what I've tried to do here is produce a very dusty, sort of dirty looking area, and I've simply done it by multiple different types of ballast, and the light colour on top is nothing more than ash, which I have here. It says it's coal ash. It's actually not coal ash, it's paper ash. And that's really what it is in there. And it's very, if I shake it, you can see that it doesn't show it very well in there, but it becomes very dusty. But you don't actually need to stick it down, because it will just stick there, and you can't really rub it off, although you can remove quite a lot of its effect. So I've been doing a lot of experiments with that. I'm not finished yet, I've got a lot more to go. Those sidings are not complete yet because they stop at the end of where the ballast is, just here. And you might just be able to see if I can get the camera around far enough. I think you can, yeah. That up here, oh dear, right up here are the ends of the sidings. Now those are not fixed down, and they're not the actual pieces of track. I shall use a piece of track and run it all the way through. This siding will finish about here, and then they will finish at an angle like that. This one will finish actually about here. I'm assuming you could see what I was pointing at there, but I can't see the camera from here. So that's where I am at the moment at that end. I haven't wired any of the track up. The points haven't got point motors. They're not been DCC'd. They are simply pico points sat in place at the moment, although there's a lot of weathering been done. These two tracks here I only laid yesterday. I laid those two before my episode in hospital and thought on the day I was supposed to be back, I was supposed to be in for a day treatment to have a biopsy taken under general anaesthetic. I ended up in what was effectively 3 days in hospital and then another week laid up unable to really do anything because I was tethered to something. So it wasn't a big problem, it's just one of those things. I just got bored out of my brain during that week because I really couldn't do anything. But anyway, the intention had been that the following day to come back and do these. No way. So these only got done yesterday, which is a long time after. It was the 12th of April that I went into hospital for the biopsy. So they were done just before the 12th of April, and these have now been done on what amounts to yesterday, which was the 10th of June. So there you go, 3 months. 10th of April, May, June, 2 months afterwards. The other area that I've been working on, and this is the area I've spent most time on before and since I was in hospital, is that area up there, which I'll zoom into a little bit, but I will take you along there. This is the Loco area, where the Loco storage is, and the back road over there, where the 08 shunter and my track cleaning train are sitting. That is the head shunt for the engineer's sidings. So what we'll do is we'll run up there and we'll see what else I've been doing. Back in a sec. Here we are again. This time we're at the Loco end of the layout, the Loco stabling point end of the layout. And as you can see, you can get quite a few Locos in there, and you can now see the head shunt that runs along the side of the Loco area. The Loco storage area does have hard standing that runs right across to here. You can't quite see that bit of hard standing there, but it's in this track. That's the last bit. And then it runs all the way through to here. This hard standing is again a scale model scenery kit. It is their Hornby spacing hard standing kit. You can get it for pico space tracks. I wanted the tracks widely spaced here so that there was space to put various bits of clutter that would have been around a Loco storage area, a Loco stabling area. So that's what I did, and I set the track out to be that right width. But as I say, you can get it in pico spacing. Pico spacing is 50mm track centres, whereas Hornby spacing is 67mm track centres. The Hornby spacing is wider because Hornby want to get round first and second radius curves without their Mark IV coaches hitting one another, which Mark III and Mark IV coaches are pretty long. They look stupid going around those curves, but you know, that's not to say that the youngsters that we're trying to attract into the hobby won't think it's great, so you can't knock them for that. Anyway, that's just a few Locos that were in the way elsewhere. You've seen many of them. The 231s that you can see here and here have been featured a lot. That 31 there, sorry, 37, was one of the Locos that was doing my signalling demonstrations, along with the one that is behind that 31, which you can just see the front of over there, which is the Virgin Class 47. So that's another bit that I've done, and I have already done all the joints between the tracks. What I might do is video me cutting the joints between the tracks and fixing the layout, fixing the rails down, etc., on one of the joints over there, because they haven't been done yet. So I may do a video on that to post, do a section on that to post in the next video, just to show how I do it. It's not rocket science, and I hope that what it results in is the ability to make the track look as if it's not got any problems. I don't like the idea of screws that you solder to the heads of. They're fine in fiddle yards, but then there are even better ways in fiddle yards if you want to do that. I like to make it such that you can ballast right up to the joints in the baseboards, and that's not easy, and you never achieve it perfectly. But we'll go through what my method for that is, and bear in mind I've only got cork tops here with styrofoam underneath for anybody who's new to the channel. No wood under there for me, styrofoam, 50mm thick styrofoam, which if you haven't seen what I'm talking about, here's a piece of it. Oops, sorry, I've hit the camera. And that is what is under there with 4mm cork on top of it. Very, very rigid, very strong, but very prone to dings and digs and things. So the cork protects it quite well. The other thing is that it's prone to shrinking if you get too much ultraviolet light on it, apparently. But bear in mind, it is styrofoam. It is not, as a lot of people think styrofoam is, it is not expanded polystyrene. It is polystyrene, but it's not EPS, expanded polystyrene. It is XPS, which is extruded polystyrene. And it is a much denser material than expanded polystyrene. And it is a construction adhesive, which polystyrene isn't, expanded polystyrene isn't. Anyway, the blue stuff is pretty much not available now, because that used to come from a company called Dow Corning, I think, and their version of it today is grey. Don't think I've got a piece of it lurking around in here. No, I haven't. Oh, there might be a bit there. There might just be a bit there. Yeah. Here's a piece of the modern day colour, which is Dow Corning's, which is what you get in the States. Which is what you get in this country. In the States, they use all sorts of other things, and you can buy insulating stuff in this country, which is probably cheaper than what I get, but it has a barrier, a moisture barrier on it, which is conductive, and you've got to strip that off. If you don't, you can be in trouble. So I decided not to do that. I decided to go with construction foam, which is meant for making models. Anyway, I've been through all that before in earlier videos, so have a look at some of my other videos and you'll see what's going on. Yeah, the model railway scenery kit, there are two of the kits, because I've got quite a lot of area and I've used everything and still had to supplement it with a little bit of 2mm MDF. But you do get plenty of the covering concrete paper, which I wasn't going to use, but I think it looks okay. It certainly gives a quick and neat job. So there we go, I've used it. Now, at the end of this, there are 4 sidings. As you can see, that EWS Class 37 is up against a buffer stop. And there are 5 buffer stops across there, all of which are going to have Train Tech lights on them. And the baseboard used to finish there. I'm going down there now to show you where I'm talking about. The baseboard actually used to finish at this point here, all the way across, just past the end of those buffer stops, only just. And the buffer stops and the lights were then going to be really vulnerable to being knocked over if the baseboard just finished. I had intended to put up here a backseat that went across there. But then what do I put on the backseat? How do I get it across the tracks over there? And that was the query I had, and asked, sorry, I've just bumped the camera again, getting back up where I was. Over there, I had intended, I think I'm pointing in the right place. Not quite, let me just tip up a little bit. Yeah, over there, where there is a bridge now, I had actually intended to not have a bridge, but I really didn't have any choice in the end. So what I've done is I built an extension to the baseboard. That really is all it is. It's cantilevered off the end of the baseboard, and it all comes off as one piece, bridge, backseat and all. So we'll go down a bit closer to that and we'll have a look at that, because that is what I've spent most of my time on during May and the part of June that we've had. So back in a sec again. Okay, here we are again. This time looking at the very end of the baseboard. Now, I lost my pointer because I've had a clear up in here. Oh no, I've just found it. No, I haven't. Okay, I'll use a brush. As you can see, down here are the buffer stops, the end of the line of buffer stops, and over here we have the three main lines. We have over the back there, which you can just about see under the bridge, is the up main, here is the down main, and this is the bi-directional relief line. All of which, for any newcomers, will be fully signalled and automatic signalled, which will also control the trains. You don't have to, you can run manually if you wish, but if you just switch that track to being automatically controlled, you can have two trains running round and round on it, and they won't crash into one another, they will just stop at the signals. Or you can have one train running round, and you can set the points against it after it's gone. When it comes round next time, the signal that is protecting those points will be red and the train will stop, so that you can bring another train across out of the fiddle yard, which is off that way over there in the garage. Which again, people who've watched my videos before will know about. Okay, so what I decided I had to do was extend the baseboard, which would protect all of this vulnerable area along here, and give me a scenic break over here. So I looked at what kits were available. I'm just going to turn you around a little bit that way. That's it. I looked at what kits were available, and there was nothing that suited my purpose in the scale model scenery area. I say them because I'm a member of their club, and you know, I know all the guys there really well. I know all the guys there quite well. Getting to know all the guys there anyway. Basically, I like their products, and they're a British company, so why not get on? Keep going with them. But what I've actually chosen to use is a couple of kits from Scale Scenes, which are also a download and print company. A lot of you will know them already. Just go to scalescenes.com and you will find them. They're an Australian company. Well, sorry about that, everybody, but the camera decided to suddenly tell me the card was full and just stopped recording, and then I had to work out how, using the camera's controls, to delete a few of the old videos that I'd forgotten to delete. My own fault. But anyway, we're back. So I was just saying that these kits, and the two kits in question are this one, which is the bridge, and this one are from Scale Scenes, who are an Australian company. And they are download and print, so it doesn't take any time to get them. You pay your money and instantly your download is available, so it's not a case of having to wait for them. And basically I decided to get them both in this grey brick, which I'm sort of still not, the jury's still out on whether it's the best colour to have got, but it'll do. And I have built an extension to the baseboard which cantilevers out from it. And I'll just move the camera around again and go down there. Just come out a little bit with the zoom. Sorry about the mess down there. I'm going down there now to poke around. I'm trying to kick the camera. I'm really good at doing that. I'll try not to. Okay, I'm round here now. So, this is the end of the wall, which would normally have had a full arch here, but that was as far as I could go, so I had to cut the arch away. This wall looks quite difficult to build out of card and paper, but I have to say, it's a brilliantly designed kit. It goes together very fast and very well. The bridge kit, not so much. I think there's far too much detail underneath the road surface, which you can only see if you go under it with a camera, and making girders out of paper and card isn't for me. I'm sure many people could do it and make a brilliant job of it, but I won't be doing it again. So that basically is the end of that. That's making girders out of paper and card. I'd rather use a pre-cut plastic card one. But anyway, here is the join between the baseboard and the extension, and all it is a couple of pieces of wood, 19mm square wood. In this area here, there are two here that are fixed to the upright that's there of 3mm MDF, and then there's one that is fixed solidly to the end of the baseboard, and the top one here sits on that one, giving you your height registration, and underneath I have two screws that go through that 3mm MDF and squeeze everything together to give what is actually quite a rigid cantilevered baseboard that is very easy to remove. Two screws, off it comes. Okay, so I'm not going to go any further into how I built it, other than to say that it is all one piece. So the actual baseboard, this baseboard, now I'm pointing where I can't see whether you can see, but this baseboard here, which is this one, and this one are two different baseboards, but this baseboard finishes over before the relief line. There's a corner cut out of this baseboard, and that just happened to be the way those lines were in the old layout. This is an extension or a rebuild of an old layout, and so there's a corner cut out of this layout. So this this extension hangs over a piece of track that isn't fixed to this board, piece of track and baseboard, and so I have actually hung the bridge out from the end of this. So when I pick this up, everything comes, bridge and all. I'm not going to pick it up now because all the road vehicles, of course, will move. So I'll have to take those off. But that's in essence how the extension is done. It's a very lightweight extension. I'll just move around a little bit further and zoom right in over there. Right, if we look there, at the end here, we're still on the baseboard closest to us, but when we get to this point here, we actually change baseboards. Oops, if I can get my thing to sit on it. There is the joint between the baseboards. So what I'm saying is that that end of the bridge over there is not fixed to this baseboard, it's fixed to this extension, and all comes off. Also, with it, just zoom out a little bit, With that comes the backseat, which is part printed and part 3D. The printed backseat is a downloadable product again from Scale Model Scenery. The reason that it's got this funny cutout in it here is because I wanted to try and get up as high as I could with it over there, and that is, I think, its natural top. It might not quite be its natural top. I can't remember how big it actually was, but what I want to do is try and lose the fact that this is high ground here. If you can see that, yes you can, just in amongst some real big trees that will be standing on the ground that is coming out of here and dropping down to this level over here. I've got to use a bit of modeller's license over there, but the reason I've cut this so short here is because I need to be able to see those two displays and a couple of LEDs on there as well. And again, in an older video, you'll see what that is all about. That is actually my DCC distribution panel. All my DCC comes from that. I have my DCC command station and booster is actually sat down under there, and there are two wires that come from that and go into the that box, and the bulbs along the top are for different sections. They are the current limiters for different sections. So the first one is for the up main, the second one is for the down main, the third one is for the relief line, the fourth one I think is for the yard, which is the Loco area and the shunting yard, so it's not connected to anything. The fifth one I think is the storage area. I've got to put some labels on them, I've forgotten yet. So is the storage area, which is everything that's in the garage. The sixth one is the accessory, so it is a separate power district for all the accessories. So I've got a lot of points that are solenoid controlled. All the points on the new board are going to be servo controlled, with the servo fitted underneath the points, which is why the points are all removable on the new baseboard. And then the last two are for the remote control, sorry not remote, for the automatic control of the trains by the signals. The signals are controlled by the trains. As the trains pass them, the signals acknowledge the fact. But if a train approaches a red signal, then the idea is it will stop. And in order to stop, what it does is it trips a sensor, and if that sensor is tripped while the signal is red, then the signal electronics will operate a relay which switches the DCC supply from the main DCC source to a different DCC command station and booster, which happens to be a Sprog, which is inside there. And those two lights are in its two outputs. So that's my wife. She can't do anything without making a noise. Even though I've got a sign outside that says please be quiet, she's still crashing bins and stuff about. Anyway, yeah, so that's what that all is, and that's why the back scene is low and has to be low. The way that the rest of it was made was that the road is just a downloadable kit from part of a kit from Scale Sidings, which I've had for years. I do like their tarmac texture, and that is what is on there. The white lines and the edge of lane markings are vinyl stick-on pieces from Scale Model Scenery. There are also some Scale Model Scenery printed drains and manhole covers. There are also some Scale Model Scenery. Let me just tip this down. I'm talking about that without you being able to see it. There are also some Scale Model Scenery here, curbstones that go all the way along. That sign there, the 40 limit sign, which you can just about see up there. The post is plastic, so if I poke that, it just moves nicely. And the 40 limit signs come from a Scale Model Scenery downloadable sheet of traffic signs, which I got my wife to cut out because I cannot cut out with scissors, and there's no way I can cut that circle with a knife. Not me, no way, it's far too small. Just can't get hold of it, so she cut it with scissors for me. But there are various other bits here as well on the scene. There's a lot of woodland scenics foliage. This is a buddleia plant, which I bought as a buddleia plant. These are bought plants. I can't remember where they came from. No, it's gone completely. These are supposed to be cow parsley, which the cow parsley's just died off down the road that we use to get to the local village, get from the local village to the local town. I'm not overly convinced by it, but it'll do me. There's lots of other bits and pieces on there. The capping stones from the wall are actually from scale model scenery, because I've never liked cut out and wrap capping stones. I just don't think they look nice. The big capping stones for here are the ones supplied, the ones that you're supposed to use from the kit, but instead of wrapping them in the paper texture, what I do is cut them on an angle, turn them up the other way, and just use them as the grey board that I make them out of as the concrete. I do rub a bit of my ash into it, so it does weather them very quickly. As I say, the back scene is from scale model scenery. It's just a downloadable back scene. It's not the best back scene. It doesn't fit the position perfectly, but again, it'll do me. And the road vehicles are pretty much, yeah, all four of those are from Oxford Diecast. So there you go. That's what I've been doing for the last 3 months, really, since I last spoke to you. I've decided now. I had decided to have a rest from wiring. I've still got to wire up all the signalling, but I decided I just needed a rest from it. I'd spent weeks wiring up all the DCC all the way around the layout because everything had to change. And I've just about started the signalling, and you've seen in a previous video that underneath the board that this is sitting on down there, and under the board next to it, there are already the signalling controls in, the signalling Arduinos which I use, and the Arduinos that are programmed to operate the servos for the points. They don't do anything yet, but they're there, so, and they're wired up, so that's something. And they've got connectors, but there's nothing to plug into the connectors yet. There's no interconnects. Anyway, I hope that hasn't rambled on for too long, but there's quite a lot of catching up to do there. So I'm going to wrap the video up for now, and hopefully I'll be back sooner than 3 months' time. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.